Hi everybody, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. Hi to everybody in the live chat. As usual, I will be responding to questions from the live chat a little bit later. First, I want to get to some questions from Patreon patrons that were pre-submitted. So why don't I just dive right into that? But actually, no, there's something I wanted to talk to you about before. I usually don't do this because it's a little, I don't know, it's unbecoming, it's a little petty, but I thought it was funny and I just had to share. So a couple of days ago on Twitter, I saw a tweet from somebody who, it was a tweet about how the word guys is not a gender neutral term. Right. So if you're meaning to refer to everybody, regardless of gender, and you say, hey, guys, it doesn't include everybody because guys is a gender term. So instead, you should say folks. And I say folks all the time anyway, because it's just part of my vernacular. It's just part of my idiom. Right. So I retweeted that. It said, just say folks. And I decided to have a little fun. Right. So I retweeted it. And I said, ooh, the stream has stopped. Okay, let me try again. Can you still see me? Hang on. I might need to change resolution. Oh, is it, now you can still see me? Okay. I don't know what, yeah, it's weird that that just happened. Yeah, I think it's okay. But anyway, what I was saying was, people give me a heart attack saying the stream is out. So I decided to retweet this tweet that says, say folks instead of guys. So I retweeted it and I made myself a little joke. I said, I've been saying folks for years, guys. Right? It's cute, right? You get it, you know? You're supposed to say folks, and it's a fairly obvious joke, right? And then I also, just in case anybody didn't get it, I also added these little hashtags that says, you know, here is my ally card. Why, yes, I would love a cookie. Fun, right? Right? So somebody responded to it on Twitter, and I've blurred out their name and their info because I don't mean to pile on to anybody, even though the person who did this is a dick. But they only had like 2 followers, so I don't want to incite anything against them. But they said this. They said, I like how you announced that, like you're going to get a fucking treat or something. Well, congratulations, little Stevie. You win the Rodney King Humanitarian Award for the day there, guy. Very clever, right? And I would have just let this pass because when that person tweeted that to me, I just blocked him because who has time for that shit? But then I saw, like yesterday, that they had also, they had screen capped it and they had posted it on Instagram and they tagged me on Instagram in it just to make sure I would see it. And I thought, okay, so you're trying to dunk on me for a joke that you didn't get. And the only reason I bring this up is this is one of my favorite subcategories of tweets or YouTube comments, or when people come at you and they try to insult you or make fun of you, and and they don't even recognize that you've just made a joke. Like, he's reacting to me as though I'm like sincerely, I guess, virtue signaling by saying like, I've been saying folks for years. It was, I mean, granted, in his defense, the joke I was making was a little unfocused. It was basically just me trying to be self-deprecating. It wasn't a very strong point to be made beyond that. But it was me being facetious, right? And he reacts to it like I'm being serious, like I actually am asking for, you know, applause and a cookie for doing this. So I decided to share it with you because that's one of my favorite types of blockheaded responses that I get from time to time. People who are reacting to what I feel are very obvious jokes. Like, whether you think it's funny or not, you shouldn't miss that it's a joke, right? He's responding to it like it was, like I was sincerely, like I was sincerely saying that. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. Now, let's go to some questions, shall we? Since that is theoretically the premise of this entire exercise. So I'm going to go to some questions from my Patreon patrons that were sent in ahead of time. So if you have questions, yeah, some random geek in the chat says, how dare you make a joke? Exactly. So I'll get to for those of you who are in the live chat, if you have a question, just hang on to it for a few minutes. I'll come back to the live chat in a bit, but I want to get to these patron questions first. And the first one is from my patron, Paul Nerves, who says, Colorado went pretty blue in the midterms, both nationally and statewide, including replacing Republican Rep. Mike Kaufman, who has been in Congress since 1989. We also elected the first openly gay governor in the U.S., much to be proud of. However, we still have a law called TABOR, the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, which requires votes to be held on all tax increases. Samantha Bee did a great segment on it recently. We had several tax increase measures on our ballot, and luckily Denver decided paying a little extra for education, roads, mental health, free school lunches for kids in need, and parks and rec. But the statewide initiatives failed. As much as I want every voice to be heard, including having direct policy initiatives, this kind of thing is infuriating. I don't think the decision to raise every tax should go on the ballot because so many people view taxes as a burden and not a responsibility. As a proponent of representative government, do you view the power to levy and raise taxes as a core part of governmental powers? Well, yeah, I do. And in fact, I don't want to speak for the founders in this, but I think one of the reasons why the government was arranged to be representative instead of a more direct form of democracy is because you want a certain degree of detachment when you're crafting things like for instance, tax policy. Because if you ask any individual person who, probably for understandable reasons are wanting to look after their own interests or the interest of their family or their loved ones, if you ask anyone, hey, do you want to pay more taxes? They're almost always going to say no. They're going to say, of course I don't want to pay more taxes. I pay enough taxes. They don't spend the tax money I give them the right way. So that's where you need elected representatives who, yes, can follow the will of the people and are accountable to the people through elections. But they're also tasked with doing the right thing, with doing what is best for society as well as much as they can figure that out. So yeah, I do think something like tax policy is best handled by honest, forthright, good-intentioned, well-informed elected representatives of the people, as opposed to turning it over to a direct vote and saying, what do you think, guys? Do you want to pay more? Oh, you see what I did? What do you think, folks? What do you think, folks? Do you want to pay more taxes? And people are going to say, no, I don't want to pay anymore. Are you of course I don't want to pay more taxes. No, right? And then it becomes difficult to implement needed tax increases because every once in a while the government actually does need to increase taxes. This is gin. I'm kidding. It's water. It's water. I'm not going to drink this whole glass of gin during this show. It's water. But anyway, so yeah, I don't think direct democracy is the way to go as far as tax policy, because as you say in your question, it makes it very difficult to implement necessary tax increases because nobody's going to want to vote to raise their own taxes, which is why that was one of the wise things that the framers of the United States Constitution did. They said, we're going to take this out of the hands of the people directly, and we're going to give this responsibility to their elected representatives who will have a bit of detachment from the issue and will be able to do what they need to do as opposed to what they might selfishly want to do. So yeah, I don't think direct democracy is a good thing when it comes to tax policy. Next patron question is from John Burnsy. Okay, two things. Do you know who Noah Brusso was? Google his name along with heavyweight boxer. Check out his legacy. Second, count all of the votes. Sounds like a great idea. Does this mean that the Democrats will do that? It's only 50 years since the 1968 DNC where Hubert Humphrey was the nominee in a smoke-filled back room, but now there's the primaries and caucuses where all the votes are counted, right? Linked to this is voting machines. I guess since they elected Obama, they must be perfect, right? You know what machines most Canadians use? Pencil and paper. But when they voted in Trump, there must be something wrong with the machines now. Or perhaps it's so hard and boring to participate in the most important thing in your country, counting votes, eye roll. The Democrats had the House and the Senate and the presidency from January 2009 until January 2011. Where were the count all the votes then? And why do you guys need voting machines if you can take weeks to decide a presidency with a 5-4 vote? There's a lot in there in that question. Well, there are a couple things about the voting machines. One of the things about the voting machines is there was a move in the 90s and the early 2000s. There was a move to electronic voting machines. A lot of districts introduced electronic voting machines. And then after 2008, there were some voting irregularities that were reported that scared a lot of jurisdictions away from it, and they decided to move back to paper ballots. And actually, that happened where I live. In my district, we had electronic voting machines, I think, for 3 election cycles, and then they went back to paper ballots, and paper ballots is what we've been using for the last couple of elections, because there's more of a paper trail, because they can't be hacked, or at least they can't be hacked as easily, because even though you vote on a paper ballot and there is like a solid record of it, the ballots are still counted at the polling place electronically. You feed them into a computer, and then the computer records the votes. So I suppose that would still be vulnerable to something if you knew what you were doing. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, the count all the votes thing, that it was also exacerbated by the fact that after about 2012 was when the Republicans really started to kick their voter suppression policies into high gear. After the second election of Obama, they really started to make, at the state and local level, suppressing the vote a big priority. So that's why count all the votes is maybe more important now, especially for Democrats, than it was before. Although, it was important in the 2000 election, too. A lot of people believe, perhaps correctly, that if all of the votes in Florida had been counted, that Al Gore would have been the president instead of George W. Bush. So count all the votes is not a brand new thing. But it is because it has become a more recent rallying cry, and a rallying cry predominantly for Democrats as opposed to Republicans, because for the last 6 years or so, especially, Republicans have really been going hard on voter suppression and trying to stop votes from being counted or stop votes from certain people being cast. So if it seems kind of lopsided in terms of, how comes Republicans and Democrats don't talk about this as often, I think that's probably one of the main reasons. Okay, next is from John Brockman, who always has interesting questions. This time John asks, what figure from history would you like to fist fight? This is a deceptively complex question that John is asking, because I would like to win the fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to pick a fight with someone from history, you want to be able to win the fight. So I couldn't just pick some, in my head, my first response is, Andrew Jackson. Like, I would love to fight Andrew Jackson, assuming that I could kick Andrew Jackson's ass. If I was guaranteed to be able to win the fight, I'd say, I would kick the shit out of Andrew Jackson. I would kick him from one side of Washington, D.C., all clear to the other side, right? I would drop kick his ass into the Potomac River. Except I'm pretty sure that in real life, Andrew Jackson would probably kick my ass. Because even though he was a horrible president and just a genocidal asshole, I'm pretty sure Andrew Jackson could take me in a fight without breaking too much of a sweat, unless I got Andrew Jackson when he was an old man. And even then, it's probably a toss-up. It's a pick-em between me and old man Andrew Jackson, because I imagine he was pretty salty in his old age. But if I could find Andrew Jackson at a point in his life when he was just really weak and broken down, so he would offer up very little defense, and I could just whip him. I think Andrew Jackson. So I would get him when he was either old and doddering and just very weak, and I would say, this is for all the things you've done. And then I would just whip him unmerciful. Or maybe when he was like a teenager. I find him when he's like a mouthy teenager before he grows up and gets tough. I'd kick the shit out of him then. Although that might end up being like a time loop sort of thing. Like a paradox where the humiliation of time-traveling me beating him up as a teenager is what turns him into such a violent, awful asshole in his adulthood. So maybe I should avoid that. I'll just go back in time. I'll beat up old man Andrew Jackson. I'll find him like on his deathbed, and I'll drag his ass out of the bed, and I'll just knock him around his house. So yeah. Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson. Old man Andrew Jackson, because I know I can take him. Next question from a patron is Andrew Hawkins. Which scene, image, or other element do you find most unsettling from the work of David Lynch? As for me, the face of the Phantom near the end of Inland Empire makes me want to curl up in the corner, whimpering. It's somehow worse when you know it's coming. Also, are you and Jason ever going to review a Lynch film? When we just so happen to have Jason himself in the live chat with us by sheer coincidence. Jason usually picks the movies, but I imagine we will do a Lynch film eventually. I can't imagine why we wouldn't. I know I'm a huge fan of David Lynch. So yes, there he goes. He just says, yes, we are. So boom, we're going to do a Lynch movie on Late Seating at some point. As far as the most disturbing image from a Lynch movie, like that's a tough one, because he's so good at creating those indelible, unsettling images. There are a couple of images from the new Twin Peaks, especially the black and white episode. Like the one where the weird, like, half frog, half insect thing, like, crawls out of somebody's mouth. That's pretty upsetting. That's pretty weird. That's a good one. But you know what? I think I'll have to go with, it's not one of the, it's when the cowboy shows up in Mulholland Drive, and it's not gross or weird. It's uncanny in the way it's just unsettling. You know what I mean? Like, because the movie director guy, like, goes to this mysterious meeting, and they're just on, like, a hilltop, and everything's surrounded by blackness. There's just light from overhead, like from street lamps or something. And then there's just this guy there in a cowboy outfit, and he has such an odd bearing and an odd way of speaking, and he seems kind of like low-key aggressive and malicious, but also he's very calm and laid back. That whole scene is just amazing, and I think I would vote for that as the most unsettling image in Lynch. Just the cowboy walking out of the shadows into the spotlight, because you can't put your finger on it as to why it messes with you so much, but I love that scene, and I think that's a great example of Lynch being able to craft these images that really hit you in an emotional way, that really hit you in a visceral way, and you can't quite articulate what it is. There's just something uncanny about it. So I would go with the cowboy from Mulholland Drive. But there are so many to pick from. In Lynch. Next question is from Matthew Rick. Mitt Romney recently authored an op-ed in which he strongly opposed Trump's, and by extension the alt-right's, vilification of the media, and argued that a free press is essential to democracy. I think we've all become accustomed to Republicans bowing and scraping before Trump, and this made me wonder if this Mitt Romney is indeed the same guy who ran for president in 2012. Did somebody perform a firmware upgrade on the Mittotron 5000? Or is the bar just so low for Republicans that any statement of the bloody obvious, in contrast to Trump's position, said by a Republican will be seen as a brave act of integrity and principle? Addendum, could Romney be dipping his toe in the water of a possible Trump 2020 primary challenge? Well, both of those questions, I think the answers depend on Romney's recent run for the Senate, which he won. He's now a senator-elect from Utah. I don't think he ran for the Senate at this stage in his life because he just cared so damn much about the people of Utah, and he just wanted to be a public servant. I think he ran for the Senate so he would have a better launching pad to run for president again. So yeah, I don't know if it's going to be 2020. I don't know if he's going to try to mount a primary challenge to Trump, or if he's just waiting until 2024 to run for president again. But yeah, I don't think he ran for Senate just because he wants to help his community. But speaking of the Senate race, that's where he can, if he really is going to be a principled Republican who will stand up to Trump, he can put his money where his mouth is starting January 3rd, because that's when his Senate term begins, and that's where he can show that if he is indeed different from all of the other hand-wringing, concern-sharing Republicans who are just so upset by this Trump administration and the tone that he is setting and blah, blah, blah. He can show that there's more to him than just a lot of talk by actually voting against the Trump administration, which I would be shocked if he does. I think Mitt Romney is doing the same thing that John McCain did before he passed away, the same thing that Jeff Flake has done, which is wringing their hands, you know, and going like, oh, this Trump guy, oh, what has become of our party? Oh, we can't let this can't be who we are. But 9 times out of 10, when it comes time to vote, they vote the way Trump wants them to vote. So it counts for nothing. It's just a lot of talk. It means absolutely nothing. If they really want to oppose Trump, they need to vote against his policies. And they don't. They don't. They didn't. You couldn't even get Republicans to vote against Brett Kavanaugh, for Christ's sake. He nominated a probable rapist and a definitely unsuitable candidate. Even if you ignore the rape allegations, the sexual assault allegations against him, which you shouldn't. They should be at the top of any list. But even if you just screen them out for a moment, his performance during the hearings should have disqualified him utterly. But the Republicans all fell in line and voted for him, even those who said, oh, I'm troubled by these accusations, or I'm troubled by his demeanor or things that he said during the hearing. But they got in line and they voted for him anyway. And if that's going to be what the kind of senator that Mitt Romney's going to be, then he can write all the op-eds he wants. It means absolutely nothing. And we'll have the answer to that question in just a couple of months when his term in the Senate begins and we see which way he decides to vote. Because that's what really counts. Not the op-ed. If you're a member of the government and you have the power to oppose Trump and you write some cranky op-eds, but then you vote Trump's way, guess what? Next question is from Francois Lacombe. Hello, Francois, who is in the chat with us right now, I believe. Francois says, democracy is a great system, but it has some major flaws, not the least of which is that it can result in putting people like Donald Trump, Jair Bolsonaro, Rodrigo Duterte, and Recep Tayyip Erdogan, boy, I bet I butchered the hell out of those names, among others, in positions of power. I would suggest another system, a sort of political Olympics, in which candidates are tested on all aspects of human knowledge, history, science, diplomacy, law, geography, art, warfare, and any other relevant domain, as well as their capacity to solve problems and work for the betterment of the people instead of their own selfish goals. It would be held every 5 years and last about a month. Anyone could register to participate, and their expenses for doing so would be paid by public money. Those who get the highest scores would form the new government and would apprentice with the old government for a year to learn the ropes. What do you think? Could something like that work? Would it give better results than voting? Does it have fatal flaws that would make it unworkable? Yeah. The thing is, I mean, I do think there is a lot of wisdom and a lot of good in having a system, however flawed that it might be, that is directly accountable to the people, where the people choose their representation. The best way to solve a lot of the problems of democracy is simply to have a more educated and informed and active electorate. But I might as well be wishing for, you know, magic beans. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So your suggestion might be more practical, might be, even though that's never going to happen either. We're never going to implement a government that is basically decided by a really, really tough month-long game of Jeopardy. We're never going to do that. But it's probably more realistic that would happen than that we would ever have the kind of electorate that would be informed enough and engaged enough to truly select the best representation and have the best government possible, as opposed to what happens now, where most people just simply don't participate at all, and those who do participate are not always acting on the best information or acting on their best instincts. So yeah, I don't know. I think that the flaw in it is that it's not democratic, but then again, that's in the proposal. You're explicitly saying, I want to replace democracy with this. So that's probably not a point against you. I would like to fix democracy as opposed to replacing it with something else. But I mean, of all the possible replacements, yours is probably one of the better ones. I mean, who doesn't like a good game of Jeopardy, you know? Next is a question from, actually a couple of questions, from Larry Yelling Man, the host of the excellent Man Yelling at News podcast. And Larry says, semi-serious question for once. Any advice for a fellow content creator? Right now I have no clue what I'm doing, and any help or feedback at all would be greatly appreciated. Or if you'd prefer a non-serious question, how adorable are these raccoons? And I'll show you the raccoons that that Larry is talking about here in just a second. He gave me a link to a web page, and I'll pull it up so that you can see it, and then I will answer the first half of your question, your semi-serious question, Larry. But here's the raccoons that Larry's talking about. It's from the weird news section of Huffington Post, and the headline: Police lock up angry raccoons drunk on crabapple hooch until they sober up. And then there's a video here where I imagine that you can see the raccoons in the video. Let me skip to the raccoon part. Oh, look at the cute little raccoons. Oh, aren't they cute? Yeah, they're people. Apparently, they thought they were rabid. There's a picture of one of them. They thought that the raccoons had rabies, but it turned out that they had eaten some fermented crab apples, and as as the story says, they were actually rather surly drunks. So they didn't have rabies. It's all good. They're just the raccoons were just surly drunks. So yes, they are cute. Apparently, drunken surly raccoons are just adorable. And thank you for sharing that with all of us, Larry. And as for your question, I think you have a pretty good. I think you have a pretty good podcast just as we speak, Larry. But if you're worried about, you want to improve it or you want to do something different, the most important thing for any content creator is to be doing what you truly have a passion for and what you really want to do. And if you're not making the show that you really, really want to make, then you should either be doing something else, doing a different show, or just not doing a show. If you can't do what you really want to do, and then in a perfect world, you just shouldn't do it. You should do something else. It can be tough to figure out what that is, and nobody else can tell you what that is. I can't tell you, well, here's the podcast you should be making, Larry. Here's what you should do. I know, as someone who has listened to your show and someone who has been a guest on your show a few times, there's nothing that really sticks out to me as an obvious thing that you need to change. There's nothing that sticks out to me as something that I think like, oh man, if he would just drop that, then it would be perfect. So I can't help you with specifics, because from my experience, your show is, conceptually at least, and formally is fairly solid. And I can't tell you what else you're supposed to do. But the most important thing is to find something that speaks to you, find something that matters to you, say what you truly want to say, do what you want to do, and say it in your voice. So even if you're saying things that other people are saying, you're saying them in your voice, from your experience, in ways that only you can say. Talk about things that matter to you. Talk about things that you think people should know about. Talk about things that you know about, that you want to share with people. It's really generic self-help bullshit advice, but it's the best advice I can give you. You just find something that you want to say or that you want to do, and then find a way to do that is the best advice I can give you. And I'm sure it's not very useful to you, but that's the best I can do. And don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to try things, even in public. Don't be afraid to do a show that's kind of off format, just to see how it works and to see if people like it or if people get it. That's completely fine. I look back at some of my old YouTube videos, and some of them I think are just awful. I think, what the hell was I thinking? But I've done it for so long that just by sheer repetition, I've gotten a lot better at it over the years. And I think, and the same thing happens with anything you do. If you do it long enough and you put effort and honest work into it, and you try to make it as good as you can make it, and you're willing to learn and evolve and change and adjust and keep things fresh, you'll get better at it. If you're still doing a podcast in 5 years, I guarantee you the podcasts you'll be making in 5 years will be better than the podcasts you make now. Just because that's the nature of it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else I can tell you in terms of specific advice. Is just have a good idea what you want to do. Be willing to experiment and willing to search, and just don't give up. Just keep doing things until you find your groove, you know. And next is from Some Random Geek. This is the last patron question, and then I'll turn to the live chat for a few minutes before we go to some other pre-submitted questions, and then we hit the lightning round. So anyway, last pre-submitted patron question from Some Random Geek, who is also in the live chat. Crap, it is the morning of the Ask Away. I haven't asked my question yet. I have to think what I want to ask. Oh, Garrett's channel is back. He put up a new channel with new content, anarchist content. Are you excited that Garrett's channel is back? Okay, now with the question out of the way, time to put on my announcer's voice. And I suppose I should put on my announcer's voice as well. Hey there, you generous members of Steve Shives' audience, as well as Steve Shives. I know you can spare $10 or $5 lying around not doing anything. You love to help people in difficult times and in poverty. Why don't you give that money to our friend Joanna via PayPal to saphirajo@gmail.com. She is a feminist geek, fangirl, writer, a friend of Christy Winters and Kevin Logan, who lives in poverty because she can't work, and poverty is not a bug of capitalism, it is a feature. You can also share around the begging bowl to help her out further, even if you don't have spare money. Link here, and the link is also in the description of the video. I didn't put a link to her Tumblr here, but I did put a link to her PayPal, or at least I put her email for the PayPal in the description of the video. And also, still generous, want to help someone else in a difficult time? Electric Mayhem 87, Ashley, could still really need everyone's help to get on her feet. Please donate if you can, or share around her GoFundMe campaign. Link here. Thank you for your time, Steve. And that is also in the description of the video. If any of you watching want to either share those or donate yourself. Oh, there's another, I forgot, Jonathan has another, he has another question that I overlooked. I don't want to overlook the second half of his question, which is, I just thought of another question inspired by Joanna's situation. Why the fuck is money a requirement of living? Why is that the case, and what can we do to change it? Last decade. That is all. So sorry I omitted that bit. Yeah, but anyway, the links to help out both Ashley and Joanna are in the description of this video that you are watching right now. So if you want to share those or contribute to those, you can help out. You can send Joanna a couple of bucks via PayPal, or click to donate to Ashley's GoFundMe page. I'm sure they would both really, really appreciate it. As for Garrett, yeah, I like Garrett. I think the last time I heard from Garrett personally, I think he was cross with me because I had used the word anarchist to mean like chaos. And political anarchists are understandably a little touchy about that. You know, they don't want they don't want anarchism to be associated with anarchy, as in, you know, like a chaotic dystopian society where everybody is out for themselves and there are no rules. And, you know, so you know, when I say like blah 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 blah, it would be anarchy. I said that once in a video, and Garrett corrected me on it, and I was very grateful for the correction because I didn't mean to offend anarchists. And then I did it again, and he left another comment where I could tell he was really kind of exasperated with me. He was like, "Oh, you did it again." So I don't know if I haven't heard from him personally in a while, so I don't know if we're on good terms or not, but I have no problem with him if he's willing to yet again overlook my my insensitive use of the term anarchy. Yes, I think Garrett is terrific. I think he's a very good YouTuber, and I'm glad that he's back doing videos. And as for why is money a requirement of living, why is that the case, and what can we do to change it? I don't, as I said last time, I don't know what we can do in the short term to change it. You know, in terms of let's make it so that we don't have to have that anymore. So that money is no longer a requirement. I don't know how we can implement the 24th century Star Trek economy in just a few years, but there are things we can do in the meantime within the current system to ease the burden of people. And as I said last time, one of those things I think is universal basic income. One of those things is raising the minimum wage to a level that allows everybody to take care of their basic needs, giving more power back to labor unions, encouraging workers to organize and making it easier for them to do that. I think there are all kinds of things that you can do short of getting rid of money or just simply cutting money off from, you know, making it able for people to live, that would ease the burden of a lot of people. I think we should focus on those things while we're still figuring out how we can implement the Star Trek: The Next Generation economy. Okay, so those are all of the pre-submitted questions from my patrons. Thanks to everybody who is a patron and who submitted a question. I'm going to turn to my friends in the live chat now for a few minutes. How is everybody doing? I've been peeking in here and there to see how things are going, and also mostly to see if the stream has frozen or dropped out again. I think we're okay. Oh, Opinionville. Jason says, how about we get away from a debt-based economy? Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I'm pretty sure. What was I talking about with somebody? I was talking with somebody. Oh, it was on our Pierre the Chef show that I do with Christopher, talking about like when people say, well, you have to run the government like a business, and they always leave out the fact that if you run a private business, you can still go into debt, just like the government does. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's the basis for our entire economy. It might be a nice idea to move away from that. I saw another question in the live chat here, and again, as I say every time, if I miss your question in the live chat, if you post a question in the live chat and I don't answer it, it's probably because I just didn't see it. So please don't take it personally. And if I skip one and you really want to know, feel free to post it again. I saw one. Well, yeah, Yannick Muller says, "Hey Steve, what's your overall take on the new Twin Peaks season?" I really liked it, actually. I really liked the new Twin Peaks. I mean, I love Dale Cooper, so I would have just selfishly, just as pure fan service, I would have liked to see more of the old Dale Cooper like he was in the show, as opposed to the way the sort of the journey he took. He didn't really become himself until close to the end, and then you had sort of that ambiguous ending. So, I mean, I would have liked to see more of Cooper as recognizable Cooper. But overall, I thought it was really good. And God, I thought Kyle MacLachlan was robbed. Kyle MacLachlan was not even nominated for an acting Emmy for that. And that is a travesty, because he played 3 characters and was brilliant in all of them. I cannot imagine Kyle MacLachlan not only, he deserved to win. He didn't deserve to just get nominated. He deserved to win an Emmy for that performance in the new season of Twin Peaks. So that kind of bugs me. But yeah, overall, I thought it was excellent. I thought it was really good. Very Lynchy. Very, very Lynchy. Radical Bacon says, I got a 96 on my last math exam. Do I get a cookie? Yeah, I would give you a cookie. I don't remember what I got on my last math exam, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't a 96. Gray Aria says, Steve, I love Steve and Stuffy. Where in the world did you get the inspiration for it? What keeps the story going? I love making videos that take a lot of hard work that nobody watches. No, I don't. The animals themselves, the characters, are actual stuffed animals that me and my wife have had for years. Stuffy was actually, I've had him since I was a kid. That's my real stuffed dog that I've had since I was a kid. And Toby Benson is my wife's dog that she's had since she was a little kid. And the other animals are animals that either one of us has had for a while or that we've acquired over the years. And their personalities are personalities that we made up to talk to each other, like to crack each other up. We would do things in character as Toby Benson or as Stuffy or as Jack or as Prospector Jones or Hans or Millicent, just to make each other laugh. And the personalities that they have in the show come from that. And as far as what keeps the story going, the fact that I think it's funny, the fact that I enjoy it, the fact that I love the characters. I think I've gotten it to a point now where the characters sort of run themselves. You know, I don't have to struggle to write dialogue for Toby Benson. I don't have to struggle to write dialogue for Jack. I know what they're going to say. I know how it's going to be funny. I know it's going to be funny because it's them and it comes from their point of view and their voice and their idiosyncrasies. And I just love it, you know. And the overall stories of the seasons are things that I come up with usually at the beginning of the season or a few months before. I'm going to start making new episodes. I kind of plot out very, very roughly what the story of the season is going to be and what the major beats are going to be. And then we just go from there and fill it in, you know, as I write the episode, and I take things from things that are happening in the world at the time that I'm writing it and just kind of throw it all together and hope that it's fun to watch. You know, so I'm so glad you like the Steve and Stuffy videos, because they're my favorites. They're the ones that if Steve and Stuffy all of a sudden went viral and they were getting hundreds of thousands of views, you know, per video, which I know is never going to happen. But if that ever happened, that's all I would do. I would my dream job would be just to make Stephen Stuffy videos full time, and I would still do Star Trek and still do the podcasts with Jason, because those are like those are the ones that are the most fun. That I look forward to doing all of that so much. I've never ever not wanted to do those things, and those are the ones that I would choose to do if I could afford to make a living just doing those things. I would totally do them. But Stephen Stuffy's my favorite, so I'm really glad that you enjoy that. Nobody Listen says, I'm not on Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit right now since my mental health isn't that great right now. It didn't help yet. So should I keep going? Should I stop before I start fasting for Advent? You mean stop like stop getting on social media? I'm not yeah, you mean should you keep the fast going even though it's not helping? I think I understand the question. Should you keep the fast going even though it's not helping? Is it hurting? Like, I feel like you've kind of got one foot out the door. I mean, if you don't, if it's not making anything worse, I think you might want to just let it ride for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something, if I didn't need to be on Twitter and Facebook to share my work and to sort of promote the YouTube channel and connect with people, with friends and with viewers, you know, like if I didn't need to do it for that, there's times when I would feel like pulling back from it as well. You know, I would just be like, God, I just need to take a break from this shit. So yeah, I mean, I would never, oh God, how cruel would it? No, you definitely have to go back to Twitter. I'm not going to tell you to do that. Lato Anner says, have you watched Legion yet? No, I haven't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you finally made it. You were finally able to come to a live stream for the first time in a while, and you have to ask me the same question, and I have to give you the same answer. No, I have not watched Legion yet. I have also not gotten around yet to watching the new season of House of Cards, and I have not watched the new season of Daredevil yet either. So I'm behind on all kinds of shit. Not as behind as I am on Legion, because you've been riding me about that for like a year. But no, I haven't. I haven't watched it yet. Francois Lacombe says, how is Pierre? Pierre's fine. He's still a little upset with me. Because if you watched Pierre the Chef most recently, the reason that Pierre was not there that time was because he was cross with me because he wanted to be in my most recent hangout with my Patreon patrons, and he's not a patron, so he couldn't get in, and he was very upset by that. You know, he was very offended that he couldn't get in the hangout that is specifically for me and Patreon patrons. And I told him, you know, $1 a month and you can get in, but he's okay. Things are a little tense between us right now. Oh, thank you, Nick. Nick on Planet Ripple said something very nice in the chat. Thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate that. Radical Vegas says, my Facebook feed is full of cats. Is anyone else experiencing this? I could use more cats in mine, honestly. Mine is full of cats, but I could use more. Ron says, I have a question. Did you see the ruling about Andrew Anglin? And how much better is the Southern Poverty Law Center than the ACLU? Yes, I did see the news about the Anglin verdict. Where basically it says that you cannot hide behind the First Amendment to justify anti-Semitic harassment and hate speech, which I thought was terrific. I think that's a wonderful result. And yeah, you know what? I'm a member of the ACLU. I make a donation to them every year, and I have an ACLU membership card in my wallet that I carry proudly. But yeah, I think I prefer the SPLC as well. I donate to them too. Yeah, I think the SPLC is fantastic. The SPLC will have my undying support because they were the organization that damn near sued the Ku Klux Klan into non-existence in the 70s and 80s. We all owe the Southern Poverty Law Center an unpayable debt for that alone. Never mind all the other civil rights work that they've done before and since. Just the fact that they were the organization that finally broke the back of the Ku Klux Klan, that had been gaining especially a lot of behind-the-scenes political strength, particularly in the South, for decades. And the SPLC was the one that finally did them in on a national level, where obviously the KKK still exists and there are still regional chapters of it, but as a national sort of power or a regional power in the South, they were able to break that by basically suing the pants off them, just suing them into the ground and winning. So yeah, the SPLC is awesome. I have great respect for the SPLC. Oh, Dr. Babylon, you did. I guess I didn't get your Patreon question. I didn't see it in the. I didn't see it on the post. Did you want to? Let me go look. I didn't. I certainly didn't skip it on purpose. Yeah, I didn't. I did not see your patron question. Bear with me a moment. I'm just checking. I'm going to my Patreon page to see if indeed I did overlook it, which apparently I did. Let me see. I did. You know what? You were the first one. I guess I put Paul's question. I put Paul's question in the file, but I guess I must have missed yours. So I apologize, Dr. Babylon. That was completely my fault. So I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and answer it now. I'll read it because I apologize for not putting it on screen. Actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and put it on screen. Screw it. I don't care. All I got to do is cut and paste, for Christ's sake. Okay, so sorry about that. And an unscheduled question from Dr. Babylon that I should have included already, but I missed it for some reason. Sorry about that. But Dr. Babylon asks, Steve, I seem to remember you making a 5 stupid things about Muhammad and a 5 stupid things about Islam, but I can't find either video anymore. Did you delete them, or is memory playing tricks on me? No, your memory is not playing tricks on you, and I'm not attempting to gaslight you. Those videos do exist. I did make them, and I put them on private a few years ago because even though I think when I go back and I watch them, I think for the most part I'm fair in them. Like, I'm not Islamophobic, and I'm not unduly critical of Islam. I think there are certain things in those videos that I say that I would not say today, and just in general, I think those videos, just their presence was inciting Islamophobic reactions and comments from the viewers. There were people leaving comments that were just harshly, just really, really unacceptably bigoted toward Muslims and Islamophobic. So I decided to private those videos just so I did not wish to contribute to that. I didn't wish to contribute to more Islamophobic sentiment on the internet, to more bullying and harassment and hostility toward Muslims in general, because we have an unfortunate tendency to blame all Muslims for the worst acts of a small number of extremists. And I didn't want to contribute to that, however unintentionally. So yes, those videos do exist. They are technically still up, but I have privated them so nobody can watch them. So yes, your mind is not playing tricks on you. They are just videos that I decided to stop sharing with people. So sorry for forgetting your question. Let me see. What else do we have here in the Opinionville? Jason says, what did you think of the Lost in Space Netflix show? I haven't watched it. I haven't seen it. Some random geek says, have you seen the new She-Ra? No, I haven't seen it yet. I do mean to watch it at some point, though. I do really want to see it. What are my thoughts on the backlash? I think it's a bunch of man babies being man babies. Right? I think it's a bunch of people complaining about stuff that they shouldn't complain about, that they have no right to complain about, that is silly, that I just, yeah, I don't. I think the redesigns of the characters all look really good. I think they're very creative and very cute and very clever. I mean, it's not as if the character designs for He-Man and She-Ra were like fucking groundbreaking art, right? I love He-Man. I love the Masters of the Universe cartoon. It's one of my favorite things ever. It's not exactly the best drawn, best designed, best animated show there ever was. Now, is it? You know, so the whole thing was silly. It's just the same thing with the people whining and complaining about The Force Awakens and Last Jedi. It's man babies throwing tantrums over shit because they think they're entitled to stuff that they're not actually entitled to. So that's what I think. Tom, you left a question too and I didn't see it? I don't know how I missed all of these questions. Liam Foley asks, any thoughts on the upcoming Godzilla movie? Yeah, and then I see a little bit down there, Jason says he almost wept at the trailer. Yeah, I thought the trailer looked amazing. I love Godzilla. I love Godzilla. And I love all of the kaiju monsters. And I'm really, I like the new one. I like the remake of Godzilla. In fact, I think the new Godzilla was the first movie that Jason and I did on the original version of Late Seating when we did it as a YouTube show. I really liked it, and I'm looking forward to the new one. Yeah, I love all the Toho monsters, and yeah, the trailer looked awesome. When they showed, when you saw the little glimpse, like the smoky shadow of King Ghidorah, I was like, oh my God, because I love King Ghidorah. So yeah, I'm super excited for the new Godzilla movie. I'm super excited. Ignacio Alteri Hansen says, hi Steve, what is your channel about? God, it's hard to summarize, isn't it? The best part about my channel is that well, I talk about Star Trek a lot. I talk to stuffed animals. Sometimes I talk about politics and current events, and that hasn't been terribly optimistic for the last couple of years for some reason. But yeah, it's basically that. It's hard to summarize. I have not prepared a log line for my channel. So I think the best thing to do, if you haven't watched that much of it yet and you haven't quite got a handle on what the hell it's all about, is you're just going to have to watch some of it. I'm sorry. I know that might be painful, but that might be the best way to do it. Nathan Dreeling, are you a fan of jazz music? Do you also play any of the Fallout games? I do like jazz. I haven't really listened to much of it for a few years, but I had a phase about 10 years ago where I got super into jazz, and I got all these classic jazz albums like Miles Davis and Dave Brubeck. And, yeah, I do like jazz. I like jazz a lot. And, but no, I don't play the Fallout. I've never played any of the Fallout games. I'm not a gamer at all, except for like stuff on my phone, you know, or like mobile games. And even then I don't play them very often either. You know what I mean? So no, I'm not. I've never played Fallout. Not a gamer. Sorry. Radical Bacon says, I'm imagining date night being like dinner, a movie, and then stuffed animals. That would be a good date night. We should do that. That would be a really good date night. I'm just going through the chat. I'm going through the chat that I'm a little behind in, and I'm noticing all the shit people are throwing me for skipping Dr. Babylon's question before I answered it. I love that. It scared me. It was a scary question. It was a scary question, and I was hoping I could get away with not answering it, but you know, I was held accountable by my viewers. Lord Toast, Toby Benson, good dog or best dog? Well, he's the best dog when he's a bad dog. So do with that as you will. Steve, are you familiar with Dr. Nerdlove? That's from Inertia. I don't think so. I might be forgetting, but I don't think I am. Yeah, Francois Lecombe says, Toby Benson is the kind of dog you should never turn your back on. No, that's true. That's absolutely true. Unless you're Jack, says Gray Aria. Yes, Jack turns his back on Toby quite a lot. I don't know the details of their intimate interactions, but yes, I imagine that happens from time to time. Scorpion Sketch says, have you seen Peter Coffin's video on cultural appropriation? Yes, I did. I like most of what Peter does. Peter makes really, really good videos. I did see that. Yannick Miller says, to follow up on your Twin Peaks answer, how amazing is David Lynch as Gordon Cole? He's awesome. I love Lynch as Gordon Cole. The gimmick of having him have to shout everything is perfect, because David Lynch is hilarious. When he's shouting everything, David Lynch is hilarious. And he's enunciating every single line to make sure that you can hear him. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, Tom, I can't believe I missed I didn't see your question on the Patreon thing. Um, okay, Sean, the next Trek actually, I skipped a little bit. Um, Tom, I'll go back and look for your question here in a minute. Yes, Sean Soloway says, when's the next Trek actually? Well, I just put up the new one this week, so there won't be another one until next month. And that will be about Star Trek II. It'll be about Kirk's role in The Wrath of Khan. It'll probably be the third week of December when it goes up, I think. The third week of December. And then probably next week, I'm only doing 2 videos because it's Thanksgiving. So next week, there will be a Monday video and then a Thursday video, which will be the Steve and Stuffy Thanksgiving video. And then the week after that, I'll probably do a not actually Trek actually about some subject that I haven't quite figured out yet. But the next proper, like, scripted, Steve's putting in an effort Trek actually video will be next month. Liam Foley says, what's your view on atheism being a representation of beliefs and agnosticism as a claim of knowledge? I think that's a good way to look at it. I think it's a neat way of explaining it. Agnostic refers to knowledge. Atheism refers to belief. You can't say for absolute 100% certain that there is no God. So you're agnostic because you don't know for sure. But you're also an atheist because based on the lack of evidence, you conclude that there is no God. So the conclusion is your belief. I think that's a fair way to look at it. Nathaniel Robinson, did you let Kirk off the hook for non-consensual sex with Drusilla? That's, I'll probably, when I do another comment response video for Trek Actually, which will be next month, I think I'm going to address that because someone left a comment about that, and I do think that's a good point. And if I had really drilled down on that subject, that is ripe for commentary, because Drusilla is a slave in that episode, and she is sent to Kirk to sort of be with him on his last night before his execution because he is condemned. And you can't have consensual sex with someone who is in a state of slavery because they don't have the right to refuse. So yes, I think it would be fair to say that that's non-consensual sex, and I just think that's something that the writers at that time just didn't consider. It doesn't mean it's not a problem, but the explanation is that it just never occurred to the writers that that's what they were showing. I guess I did let him off the hook, but I forgot Drusilla altogether when I was scripting the video. That's why I put those little inserts with the title that says, "Oops, I forgot Drusilla," because when I was writing it, for some reason, I forgot to write her into the script. Otherwise I would have, and I probably would have at least put a line in about it. So yes, in a way, I guess I did let him off the hook, but it wasn't intentional. Christy Mowry, Steve, does the Amazing Atheists channel death and Sargon's daily poning whilst in the face of mass dogpiling you're still here indicate a change? I don't know. I mean, I think things are trending in the right direction, but I mean, both of those people still have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of subs. I mean, they might be trending downward in terms of subs and views, but they still have massive audiences and legions of water carriers and defenders and trolls at their beck and call. So, I think things are changing in the right direction, but they're not changing super fast. I would like to see them both just vanish, but that's not happening. But yeah, I think things are going in the right direction as far as that. I think the shitlords and the trolls, the professional trolls and the professional bigots and anti-feminists, like the two you mentioned, and other people as well, who have basically the same act, I think they're gradually losing their influence and losing their grip on their audiences. And it is nice. It's nice to see. Davuzo, have you seen Shin Godzilla and what was your impression? I haven't seen it yet. I do really want to see it. I've heard reviews from people that say it's like their favorite Godzilla movie. I've also heard people say that they didn't like it at all. So I'm very curious to see it myself, but I just haven't got around to watching it yet. I have not seen it yet. I go full metal. I have seen the Detective Pikachu trailer. I thought it was hilarious. I probably won't see the movie. I'll probably wait till it's out on Netflix or something. But yes, I did see it. Radical Bacon. So Jim Acosta ruling. What will Trump say? I think didn't they say? I don't know if Trump said it. Maybe yeah. Maybe Trump did say it. He said well, as long as he behaves himself. We'll let him back in as long as he... I love that Trump is pretending like it's up to him. Like the court said, you have to give him back his press pass. You had no reason to take it, right? And Trump is saying, he's acting like it's still his decision. He's like, well, we'll let him back in, but he's got to behave himself. Okay. Because that's the job of a journalist when questioning the president, is to behave themselves. Yeah. I mean, I can't say I expected anything different. Oh, 255 AD, you just became a patron. Thank you very much. I think I got the notification for it, actually, so thank you very much. Rock and Rob 210, any favorite hard rock or heavy metal bands? I mean, just the ones that everybody likes, like Metallica. Like I can listen to a good Metallica album pretty much anytime. It's never, I can't think of any like really like hard. Well, you know, Led Zeppelin. I do love me some Led Zeppelin. But there's very little, for whatever reason, there's very little heavy metal or hard rock that really like reaches out and grabs me. You know what I mean? Like there are other bands that could be categorized differently that like their music really reaches out and grabs me and really means a lot to me. And with most hard rock or heavy metal bands, I can't think of, you know, too many that I feel like, oh, I just can't do without their music. You know, so I mean, I guess I do have favorites, but I don't have any that I just yearn. You know, I can't do without them. Haster says, what do you say would be the focus of your channel? Politics or entertainment? Yes. Sean Soloway, have you ever wondered why they didn't harvest the impossible to get mobile emitter tech from the futuristic Borg in the drone fucking Voyager? If you're going to play that game with Voyager, you'll die. You'll starve to death. You can't apply that level of logic to Voyager and expect anything good to come of it. To be fair, that is true of every incarnation of Star Trek, but it's especially true of Voyager. Tim Jerome, Star Trek short treks for America only. Do you think this is a bad move for CBS? Yeah, I think there's because I've seen on Twitter a lot of international viewers who are upset that they don't get to see them. So yeah, I do think they should. I think the reason is that for whatever reason, they've chosen not to release them to Netflix internationally. They've chosen to just keep them on CBS All Access. Whereas outside of the US, Discovery was released on Netflix, not on CBS All Access. So people around the world who don't have CBS All Access can still watch it. And for whatever reason, they chose not to do that for short treks. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the decision-making process was as far as that goes. But yeah, I think it's a mistake. And especially since the second short treks, the Calypso, I thought was awesome. I thought it was a really, really, really good little short film. So I think they definitely should be making them available to everybody. And sorry, Greg Bauer, I just saw, I skipped over his question in the chat. He says, what are your thoughts on Nancy Pelosi being challenged for the speakership? I'd rather Steny Hoyer get the boot myself, if anyone. I think it's probably a good sign. Like, I mean, I have no problem with Nancy Pelosi personally. I think she will end up being the speaker, and I think that will be fine. But I don't have a problem with people challenging her. If it were up to me, I would like to see someone else become speaker. I would like to see someone younger, perhaps someone who hasn't been in Congress quite as long as she has. I would just like to see a page turn, sort of a new generation of leadership. But that's just in a perfect world. I mean, overall, I have no problem with Nancy Pelosi being the speaker. I think she'll be fine. But yeah, I don't have a problem with people challenging her either. I think it's probably a good sign. I think I want the Democratic caucus to be energetic and active, you know? So yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all. Jordan Joan P says, hey Steve, I can't think of any questions. So hi, how are you? I'm fine. I'm great. I'm actually really good. Thank you. Oh, and I saw Humbilly, you mentioned You mentioned Noah Brusso. Sorry, the chat kind of jumps around a little bit when I scroll down because I'm so far behind in it. See, now I can't find it again. But anyway, yeah, there it is. Humbilly's talking about Noah Brusso, the only Canadian-born heavyweight boxing champion. And he was known for offering fights or taking fights with non-white fighters. I did look him up after I got that question. And he does seem like a very important figure in boxing. I knew who he was, but I had forgotten because he's who Jack Johnson beat for the title. So I was familiar with him, but I had forgotten him. I saw the Ken Burns documentary about Jack Johnson that came out some years ago called Unforgivable Blackness. That is just fantastic. A great documentary. And Jack Johnson was a fantastic, very, very important figure in American sports. He was the first black heavyweight boxing champion and one of the greatest fighters ever, one of the most important fighters ever, just a revolutionary figure, changed the whole sport of boxing. And yeah, and Noah Brusso was the only Canadian-born heavyweight champion, and he fought black fighters, he fought Native American fighters. He was known for extending title shots to non-white fighters, which at the time was unusual, and that was his justification. He said, if I'm not the best, I don't want the belt. And I can only be the best and know I'm the best if I fight anybody deserving who wants a shot. So yeah, Noah Brusso seems like a really good guy. Okay, so here's Larry relaying Tom McDonald's question that I missed somehow from the Patreon page. So sorry, Tom. Larry's shortening of Tom's question is, with the election of Bolsonaro in Brazil, has Trump finally found a dictator he doesn't like? Are we sure he doesn't like him? Maybe he doesn't like him because it's a little too close to his own act. Maybe Trump likes dictators who are a little different than he is, right? So if he doesn't like Bolsonaro, it's because he's ripping me off. He's doing my shtick. Maybe. I don't know. Time will tell. I find it very hard to believe that Trump would not get along with anyone who is a strong man. I mean, Christ, he's buddies with Kim Jong-un, for God's sake. Like, if you can't find a reason to not be best pals with Kim Jong-un, this Bolsonaro guy must be an asshole. It's obvious that the fascism doesn't bother Trump. So Bolsonaro, if Trump doesn't like him, it must be because he's just an asshole, you know? And man, can you imagine how big of an asshole you'd have to be? Yeah, and see, I don't know. I don't know if Trump has said something about Bolsonaro or not. I'm honest. I have to plead ignorance. I'm not entirely sure. Radical Bacon says, "What am I doing for Thanksgiving? I am myself and Ashley are having dinner with my grandmother and my dad and my brother, which has been our custom for the last several years. So that's what we're doing for Thanksgiving." Samuel Sturgill says, does Trump really not give a crap about poor Americans? I think that's absolutely true. He really does not give a crap about poor Americans. Okay, now, anybody else who still has questions in the live chat, just hang on to them for a minute, because I'm gonna answer some more questions that were submitted as comments on the last Ask Away, and then I'm gonna come back and we'll do a lightning round for the last couple of minutes, and then we'll wrap this up and everybody can go about their business. So if you have questions that you haven't posted or that I haven't answered, hang on to them. Post them when I come back and we do the lightning round. But for now, I'm going to answer a few more questions from people who watched the last episode and had some things to say in the comment section. So, well, there's Dr. Babylon's Patron question that I forgot. This one is from Sven Nussling. I have never liked Voyager, but now I have just started watching it. The plan is going through it from beginning to end, but I have gotten stuck in the first season. Where should I start to get through? Boy, I mean, you know, I don't know, because my wife and I binged Voyager last year, and I actually found it surprisingly easy to get through. It's still my least favorite Star Trek show. I can't say that I like it all that much, but it's not offensive and it's not difficult to watch. I mean, I've said many times in the Trek Actually videos, I would call it perfectly acceptable Star Trek. You know, it's not unwatchable most of the time. So I don't really know. I guess the first season is a little dull compared to the rest of the show, but I'm not sure if you can sort of power your way through the first season and just keep going. That's what I would suggest. It's hard to think because it's such a mediocre show. I mean, I can't say, well, you know, just skip ahead to season 3. I mean, I could say skip ahead to when 7 of 9 comes aboard, but honestly, the show doesn't really get that much better when 7 of 9 shows up. I mean, it's like a new toy in the toy box. You know, they have a new character, and some of 7 of 9's character development is pretty good, and a few of the 7-centric episodes are pretty good. But the show overall, it's not like it all of a sudden gets a lot better when 7 shows up. So I can't really tell you. I think if you're determined to watch all of Voyager, I think you need to just you know, bite the bullet and just do it. You know, just get a nice thick rope and put it in your mouth and bite down to, you know, distract yourself from the pain and just watch it. That's the best I can tell you. Here's the one from Johnny the Wolf. Hey, Steve, Star Trek question. How is it that people in the Star Trek community seem to love Quark but despise Neelix? Sure, the latter is awkward and a bit annoying at times, but he has a good heart. He always tries to do the right thing, and his knowledge of the Delta Quadrant has proven invaluable to the Voyager crew. Quark, however, is a walking happy merchant meme who brings nothing but trouble to Deep Space Nine with his shady antics and never seems to be of much help to the crew. Well, I think the problem there lies in the character types that Neelix and Quark represent. Because I think Quark's character type is much more appealing to the general audience than Neelix's character type. Neelix is a very earnest character. Neelix, yes, he does have a good heart. He does want to do the right thing. He does turn out to be very helpful to the crew. And I agree with you. I don't hate Neelix. I think Neelix is fine. I think Neelix, of all the characters in Voyager, Neelix seems like the one that I would hate. But actually, I can't say that I hate Neelix. I think Neelix is fine. But his character type is a very sincere, very earnest character. He's a people pleaser. He's obsequious. He's the morale officer. He wants to put everybody in a good mood. He just wants to help. He wants to make everybody happy. And because we live in such a miserable, cynical, joyless age, people just don't like that character type. Whereas Quark is the scoundrel with a heart of gold, a secret heart of gold that he doesn't want people to know about. He wants people to think he's a ruthless businessman. He wants people to think he's the ideal Ferengi. All he cares about is profit. But we know that Quark has that other side. Quark has principles. He's willing to set them aside. You know, he's still mostly an unscrupulous businessman, but when backed into a corner, he helps out his friends. He is willing to put principle and friendship and the good of the needs of the many ahead of profit from time to time. So, and that's a much more appealing character type, the scoundrel with a secret heart of gold, and that's Quark. So I think he's just a much more interesting and appealing character to people, regardless of the merits of the individual characters. I think Quark gets more points with the audience, with the fan community, because he has a more acceptable and interesting and beloved character type. Here's one from Corey Donaldson, and Corey asks a regular question and a lightning round question. I'm just going to answer them both right now because the lightning round is for people in the live chat. So here's both of Corey's questions. Number one, I don't know if I asked you this question before, but what is the most memorable and entertaining concerts that you have ever attended? The most memorable and entertaining concert that I have ever attended are Simple Minds, The Cult, Gordon Lightfoot, and ZZ Top. I will pause there to say that this is an easy question for me to answer because I almost never go to concerts, so I have no concert stories to tell. My wife and I attended the Blues Fest in Hagerstown a couple of years in a row when we were first together, and that's about it. I'm not a concert goer very much at all, so I can't really give you a list because I don't go to concerts. And second one is, would you consider the children of Mexican immigrants being torn away from their parents by ICE and border guard agents the trail of tears of our time? I apologize if the question comes across as insensitive. Yeah, I mean, I think it's comparable in terms of the cruelty displayed by the government. I think it's comparable in terms of the dehumanization of people who don't deserve it, the inflicting of cruelty on people for no good reason, for no purpose. Yeah, I think you can definitely compare it to that. The Trail of Tears and the overall policy of forced relocation of Native Americans, I think wins out as a worse atrocity, because that was something that just utterly devastated multiple cultures of people. And we haven't devastated the culture of people who come here as immigrants. We've treated them inhumanely. We've done terrible things to them, completely inexcusable things to them, and things that we just should not be doing. This we should be implementing a humane and compassionate border policy, not locking people in cages, not separating them from their children. Like the whole thing is wrong and it's awful, and we should stop it right away. But the Trail of Tears was part of an overall policy that was basically genocide. I mean, it was a forced relocation of people from their ancestral lands for no reason other than we just wanted them out of there, and it was awful. It was an atrocity. And I think we would have to say that was worse, just for the sheer number of people that it involved and for how long it took, not just the Trail of Tears specifically, but the whole policy of forced relocation of Native Americans. I think that if we're going to do, atrocity Olympics, I think that has to place higher than family separation. But yeah, they're both inexcusable, awful, inhumane policies. Next, from the Ghost of Sabotage. I'm a horticulturalist, so I see plants and animals being on the same importance level as human life. So what makes plant life less important than animal life? I respect yours and everyone else's eating habits. I'm just curious how plants have less rights to live than animals for vegetarians and vegans. Don't beat me up, for I'm not starting up a cage match here. Oh, don't worry. I only beat up old people. Actually, no, I only hypothetically beat up elderly Andrew Jackson. If I ever get to do that, then maybe I'll move on to number 2 on the list. But until I get to kick the shit out of elderly Andrew Jackson via time travel, nobody else has to worry about me trying to fight them. I think plant life in general should be considered just as important as animal life. But the life of individual plants is judged to be different than the lives of animals or the lives of humans, because so far as we know anyway, plants don't have consciousness, plants don't have self-awareness, plants don't have nervous systems, they can't feel pain. I think, aren't there some, actually there might be some plants that can feel pain. I remember, I'm not an expert, I remember reading that somewhere. I could be completely wrong about that, but yeah, but the overall idea is that plants are not as developed as individuals. They're not conscious, they're not sentient, and therefore individual plants are viewed as acceptable to consume for survival. Whereas for a vegan or a vegetarian, doing that to an animal, which is a conscious entity, which can feel pain and probably feel certain primitive emotions, depending on how advanced the animal is, that is considered unacceptable. So I think that's the difference. It's a matter of consciousness and a matter of sentience or awareness, that sort of thing. And then the last question from a commenter is from Matt Machado, longtime viewer and commenter. Matt says, "Hey Steve, 9 years ago this coming Tuesday, November 20, I first brought home my dog Misty from the shelter, first as a foster, then eventually adopting her. Can you wish us a happy gotcha day?" Well, of course. Happy gotcha day to Matt and Misty. That's wonderful. I love, I have friends on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and stuff where I have a couple of friends actually who just got dogs. Oh, I know John Brockman just got a dog relatively recently, and Callie Wright just got a dog, and Caitlin Burns, this writer from DC who I follow on Twitter, who is awesome. She just got a cat recently. So I have all these friends who have just gotten animals, and I think most of them are rescues they got from a shelter or something. And oh, that's awesome. That's just great. Yeah. So absolutely happy gotcha day, Matt and Misty. That's terrific. Okay. Well, now Let's see if it plays this time. Last time I played the sound and it didn't, and nobody could hear it. So let's see if we know what time it is.
The lightning round. Rapid fire questions. Glib and adequate answers.
Ah, it's time for the lightning round. I assume you could hear that. If you couldn't, it said, "It's the lightning round." That's what it said, because it's time for the lightning round. So here we go. I'm going to start the timer. And once oh good, Radical Bacon reports that yes, we can hear it. So cool. That was probably my fault last time. It usually is. So I'm going to start the timer. As soon as the timer starts, hit me with those questions, and I'll answer as many rapid-fire questions as I possibly can from the live chat in 5 minutes. Let's do it. Norman Bookwald, what do you think would be the best presidential candidate for 2020 to beat Trump or Pence? Oh, I don't know. Kamala Harris, maybe. Cory Booker. Lightning round question from Ron. Is Donald Trump a fascist, or rather, do you consider him a fascist? And what specific policies would you point to that support your viewpoint? Yes, I think he is a fascist. I would point to his vilification of the press, his attempt to intimidate and strong-arm the press as proof of his fascism, his border policy, his attempt to ban Muslims. Yeah, I think he's definitely a fascist, and he's done or tried to do lots of fascist things. Nathaniel Robinson, is there anyone you respect currently on the range of conservative thinkers? I guess I have a relative amount of respect for David Frum. I disagree with him on a lot of stuff, and I don't think he's a great guy, generally speaking. But yeah, I think if I had to pick one, I'd probably say David Frum. Sir Kidalot, hey Steve, I know you dislike the police in the USA, not without reason. My question is, what do you think of the police in the UK? I don't know much about them, except that they don't carry guns. So, I mean, for that reason, they're preferable than the police we have here. Some random geek says, which Filmation show should come back with a remake? Well, I mean, I would love to see another season of Star Trek: The Animated Series, obviously. The not real Ghostbusters, perhaps. He-Man, obviously. I'd like to see them just go back and start doing He-Man, just like pick up like they never stopped making it. Same style, same crappy animation. Yeah, that would be great. Liam Foley, as an atheist, do you still have a sense of spirituality? Not really. I mean, I have a sense of wonder. I have a sense of wonder about the universe and about the world. I don't know if I would call that spiritual. There's a lot of things that I draw a great deal of meaning from. And, you know, contemplating things larger than myself gives me a great deal of comfort, and I derive a great deal of meaning from. I wouldn't call those things spiritual. John Brockman, how evil is capitalism? What form of socialism would you replace it with? How many dogs and cats do you want to own? Pretty evil. A democratic socialism. And I don't know, maybe 2, 3. You don't want too many. Daryl Letta, the worst nominee the Dems could put up in 2020. Michael Avenatti. Radical Bacon. So my friend just got 2 cats, but they're hiding. What should he use to lure them out? I don't know. Tuna? Bacon? Maybe? Salmon? Nice piece of salmon? Nobody listens. Do you ever get to read recreationally? Want to shout out some novels and or comics? Shouting out his Dark Materials and Paper Girls myself. Yeah, well, right now I'm reading, I like to read nonfiction. Right now I'm reading a book on the history of the National Wrestling Alliance. That's been my recreational reading. And before that, I can't remember. Oh, I read some Ray Bradbury short stories recently. And for comics, the only thing I've read, I've been intermittently kept catching up on the Kelvinverse Star Trek comics from IDW. Those have been pretty good. I go Full Metal, salsa or guacamole? Got to go with salsa on that one. Axel Myas of Wales. Steve, what's the music that plays at the beginning of every 5 Stupid Things? That's, what's it called? I think it's called Airport Inn or Airport Lounge, and it's a Kevin MacLeod piece. Austin Levereau is, or Leverio, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Austin. Austin, is Jack McPherson going to make another presidential run in 2020? No, he is not. Jack is out of politics. He is a private detective now. Humbilly, when does capitalism end and the government begin? With the Federal Reserve bailing out banks. What's capitalist about both parties deciding how to spend $20 trillion and spread $20 trillion in debt around? Good question. Yeah, it's not really, doesn't really say much for the wisdom of the free market, does it? Alt Rocks, Wisecrack recently did a video about the wrestling phenomenon of kayfabe in relation to modern politics. Do you think that's a fair assessment of how politics are currently working? Yes, I do. I haven't seen the video, but yeah, I think you can definitely draw a comparison to kayfabe as far as, because politicians definitely talk to each other differently than they talk to the public when they think nobody is listening. And that is the definition of kayfabe. So yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. The Not Real Ghostbuster is the one with the gorilla. Yes, that's the very one. Hey, Steve, who's your favorite Doctor? I haven't watched enough Doctor Who to have one, so I can't really answer. Greg Bauer, did you ever consider Romulan ale in Star Trek to be an analogy for marijuana? McCoy saying, I only use it for medicinal purposes in The Wrath of Khan. No, I don't think that's meant to be a marijuana reference. People have been saying that about alcohol for a while. People have been using that excuse saying, you know, oh yeah, I drink, but it's medicinal. I don't think that's, I don't think it's meant to be a pot reference. By the way, I know the time is up, but I'm just going to run through and answer the remaining questions really quick. And then we'll wrap this up. So, Nathaniel Robinson, as a lit person and an atheist, do you think there is any reason to bring back Sisko from the Celestial Temple? I mean, as a writer, I say no. I think, you know, it's better to leave the ending alone and just say it's over. They finished the series. Let's just enjoy it for what it is. But as a fan, I would love to see Sisko again. As a completely uncritical Star Trek fanboy, I would love to see Sisko again. As an atheist, I mean, yeah, I guess, you know, because Sisko, he's not dead. He's not in an afterlife. He's with the prophets. And in the world of Star Trek, the prophets really exist. You know, they're not like a mystical spiritual afterlife. They're real, and he's still really there. So, I mean, I guess there's no reason to object to it on a religious grounds or on atheistic grounds. But yeah, as a writer, I would say leave well enough alone and just leave him there. But as a fan, goddamn, get Avery Brooks back in the uniform. You know what I mean? Someone says oysters to lure the cats out. Good idea. Liam Foley, are you a fan of Superman? Yeah. Yeah, in fact, actually, let me double check. I think I have a Superman shirt on underneath my own. Yep, I have my Superman shirt on underneath my there it is, you can see. Yeah, it's a little faded, but that is the S of the Max Fleischer Superman, which is my favorite Superman. Yes, I am definitely a fan of Superman. Yeah, the lightning round is too damn short. That's why it's the lightning round. That's the point. Do you think, Liam Foley, do you think Trump should be impeached? And will he be impeached? Yes, he should be. No, he probably won't be. Opinionville, why did you cause the fires in California? Spite? I did it because I knew that you could take it. I knew that you would be okay. And I just wanted to show you, Jason, how much you were capable of. That's why I did it. Because I wanted to show you what was really important in life. And I wanted to show you that you can overcome this obstacle. I did it for you. I did it for you. And a little bit for spite. A little bit for spite. Because you did make me watch a Lord of the Rings movie for late seating. And you're going to make me watch the other two at some point too. So yeah, it was a little spiteful. I apologize for that. I hope you're okay. God, I'm an asshole. I'm such an asshole. He's like my best friend, and he's in the chat, and he says, hey, I'm home early from work because of the fires. I haven't even asked if he's okay. I assume that he's fine because he's here. I assume he doesn't have to, you know, put up he doesn't have to build a sandbag wall or something. I assume everything is cool if he's on the internet and he's in the chat for my live stream. But I haven't even asked if he's okay. John Brockman, describe Jordan Peterson in half a word. Head. You can fill in the first half for yourself. Yeah, I would love to see Avery Brooks on screen for just about anything, too. Okay, and I'm some random geek is plugging other people's plugging other people's hangouts. So I do want to mention, since Geek has mentioned it, that Ted Shires is doing a live chat tomorrow at noon Eastern on his channel. So everybody check out Ted. Ted is awesome. If you don't know who Ted is, check out his live stream at noon Eastern on his channel tomorrow. Yeah, I know, John, it is overkill burning the state of California for a movie. I don't care for those movies. I'm sorry. That's some Kill Bill shit. Yeah, it is. It's a little extreme. It's a little extreme. I'm glad, Jason, I'm glad I could make you laugh while your world is on fire. I appreciate that I'm able to do that for you, my friend. Would I take a class from Avery Brooks? I certainly would. Yes, Avery Brooks, I don't know if he still teaches, but at some point, yeah, he was an acting teacher at a college, at a university in Georgia, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, oh God, I would totally take an acting class from Avery Brooks. My God, that would be amazing. Yes. Yeah, head is a full word, but it's half the word I was thinking of. Jordan Peterson, university professor. So ignore intellectuals? Yeah, some of them. If they're intolerant, ignorant dipshits, yes, by all means, ignore them. I'll listen to John Brockman coming in with the Smash Mouth lyrics. My world's on fire. How about yours? Hi, Christy. Oh, and the show's over, and Christy came in. I'm sorry. Hi, Christy. Shit. You know, it's the time change, because Leto got to make it because of the time change, and I think the time change screwed up the time for the rest of the world. Yeah, sorry that the show's almost over and you just got here, Christy, but it's nice to see you. Yeah, and good job on you and Kevin beating the shit out of Sargon in public. That was great. Yeah, and now Jason is openly threatening me in the chat. I hope you all see this. He's saying next late seating will be Two Towers and Return of the King director's cuts. He's openly threatening me on the internet. This is the kind of shit that YouTube allows. That is unacceptable. That is bullying. That is cyber harassment, and it should not be allowed. He's openly threatening me. Okay, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. We can go. We'll be here all night. I could chat with you guys all night. But I have a Stephen Stuffy riff video to get back to writing. I have non-YouTube related things to do. So I just want to say to everybody, as I always do, if I missed your question, I am so sorry. If I missed your question in the chat or on the Patreon page, as apparently there's a question that just vanished that I didn't get to see. So sorry about that, Tom, and sorry, Dr. Babylon, for being belated in answering your question, and sorry to anybody whose questions I missed. Some random geek I just see is doing a hangout in 30 minutes, so go to his channel if you want to hang out with that, if you want to watch that. Some random geek is awesome. Yeah, now he's threatening me with Catwoman as well. So that's I want to remind everybody that if you enjoy the videos that I do here, the live chats and the other videos that I do where I actually put work in, you can help me continue to do those by becoming a Patreon, wrong graphic, Steve, by becoming a Patreon supporter at www.patreon.com/Steve Shives. I noticed a couple people in the chat have said they've either become patrons tonight or they're going to become patrons in the future, which is awesome. Thank you all so much. $1 a month helps me out. $5 a month helps me out more. It's whatever you think I'm worth and whatever you can afford. So thanks to everybody who's a patron at whatever level and however long you've been. I appreciate it so much. Now it's time for the podcast graphic. My much more funny and talented co-host, Jason Harding, is in the live chat right now, Opinionville. And Jason is nice enough to allow me to share airtime with him on 2 of his excellent Let Me Listen podcasts, Late Seating, which is the movie review podcast, and the Ensign's Log, which is our funny Star Trek-themed show that is like my favorite thing ever. So if you have not listened to either of those and you want to check them out, or any of the other excellent podcasts that Jason hosts or produces, you can go to onlylistenpodcast.com. Links are also in the description for Late Seating and the Ensign's logs. Check them out if you haven't already. And we're recording new episodes of both this weekend. So more to come. More Late Seating goodness and more Ensign's logs coming right up. And there's a new episode of the Ensign's log that went up just today. So if you haven't listened to it yet, check it out. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to go away now. So I'll be back though. I'll do another one of these in 2 weeks, and I'll be doing the other stuff between now and then. And just a reminder, once again, I mentioned it already, but I usually do 3 videos a week, only 2 videos next week. Monday and then Thursday for the Stephen Stuffy Thanksgiving video. So no Wednesday or Friday video, just a Monday and a Thursday. Yeah, I'll need the extra time to write that Stephen Stuffy Mystery Science Theater style riff video. I've already picked out the short films that we're going to riff. I just need to get around to actually doing it and then shoot it and, make the video and stuff. So anyway, thanks everybody as always for joining me. I will see you in 2 weeks for another one of these, and I'll see you on YouTube in between now and then for the usual stuff. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your viewership and your support and your attention and everything you give to me that I could not do without, either financially or in terms of my ego. I appreciate it. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you later.